this is Kellie Nightlinger. I'm a Michigan Conservation Officer, and I wanted to pay tribute to the 125th anniversary of Michigan Conservation Officers. We have served proudly for 125 years. We're one of the first salaried game wardens in the United States. We also had the first female game warden in the United States also. So I wanted to just pay tribute to that, and I also wanted to pay tribute to our fallen conservation officers and those who have served in the past and serve now and will serve in the future. Thank you. In Michigan, we've had 12 fallen conservation officers. In about the month of September 1907, Frank S. Wilson received notice from the state of Michigan that he was to be appointed a state game and fire warden. Wilson's district was comprised of 10 counties in northern Michigan, and he resided with his family in Elk Rapids. Wilson was last seen alive during the night of Wednesday, April 1st, 1908 in Traverse City. Wilson's body was found on Friday, April 3rd in 1908 in a wooded area near Traverse City. Wilson was found with 2 bullet wounds to his head. Wilson was laid to rest at the age of 55 in Maple Grove Cemetery in Elk Rapids, Antrim County, Michigan. Wilson was survived by his wife and 7 children. Julius A. Salmonson, 1878 to 1908. On November 15th, 1908, Deputy Warden Julius Salmonson, his brother Martin Salmonson, and Deputy Sheriff Hazeltine died on White Lake in Muskegon County while trying to apprehend violators illegally netting fish. During the afternoon of November 14th, 1908, Warden Salmonson and his brother found illegal nets near the mouth of the channel that leads to Lake Michigan. Expecting trouble, they secured assistance from Sheriff Deputy Hazeltine. Around midnight, November 15th, the trio left their horses and lantern along the edge of the lake and proceeded out in a small flat-bottom boat to apprehend the violators. After hearing no word from them the following day, a search party was formed. Their bodies were located 600 feet from the shore in about 7 feet of water. Sources questioned whether the men had met some type of resistance and were overpowered, as it was known certain violators had made threats that there would be serious consequences if the officers did not cease their efforts to break up the illegal netting activity and leave them alone. The deaths were declared an accidental drowning after an investigation, and they could find no evidence of any violence toward the officers. Arvid Eriksson, 1896 to 1926. Conservation officers Arvid Eriksson and Emil Skoglund were working together on September 29, 1926 in the Sands Plains area of Marquette County when they encountered an unlicensed hunter. During the course of the arrest, Nunn pulled a hidden .22 caliber revolver and killed Conservation Officer Eriksson with 2 shots to the back of the head. When Conservation Officer Skoglund came running up to assist, he was also killed with 2 shots to the face. When the officers failed to return home and their abandoned car was found, a massive investigation and search was launched. The evidence eventually led to Nunn, who confessed to the crime. The officers' bodies were recovered, having been weighted down with bricks and dumped into Lake Superior from a pier in the city of Marquette. Nunn was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. And actually, he, I believe, is out on parole at this time. And Emil W. Skoglund, 1890 to 1926. The same account was shared previously, same incident. This fellow officer fell. Theron Adherbal Craw, 1900 to 1928. Theron Adherbal Craw was born in April 9, 1900 at a family farm near Long Lake in Grand Traverse County, Michigan. He was the son of Michigan Conservation Officer and District Law Supervisor Mark Adherbal Craw and his wife Clara. After serving as an infantryman in World War I, Theron Craw was hired as a conservation officer on January 2, 1928. On October 31st, 1928, CO Craw was working a detail with CO Howard Yunker at Acme Creek in Grand Traverse County. The 2 officers were assigned to work trappers and chase off merganser ducks from fish which had been recently stocked in the creek. During the course of their duty, CO Craw was accidentally shot by CO Yunker. CO Craw sustained a 12-gauge gunshot wound to his back, with the pellets reaching into his left lung and liver, as well as other organs. He was taken to Munson Hospital for treatment and 2 days later began to develop peritonitis. CO Crowd soon died thereafter on November 5th of 1928. Andrew Schmeltz, 1890 to 1936. Andrew Schmeltz died on October 20th, 1936, near the Carp River in Marquette County. Schmeltz was killed on a wooded trail leading along a ridge between Pickett Lake and Carp River. Parts of his body were found by searchers on October 21st. The body had been dragged to the edge of a swamp where it had been dismembered and charged by charges of dynamite. On October 23rd, the Michigan State Police took Raymond Cavella, age 27, into custody. Cavella soon confessed, stating he killed Schmeltz on the morning of October 20th with 2 shots from a .22 caliber revolver. Cavella then dragged the body to the edge of a swamp and left the area. That night, he returned to the scene with several sticks of dynamite and detonated them on Schmeltz's body in an effort to destroy the remains. Schmeltz had been investigating a report of illegal trapping and met Cavella along the trail carrying a .22 rifle. Cavella admitted he had no permit to carry the gun. When Schmeltz said he would have to take his gun, Cavella responded by striking the officer and firing 2 shots in his chest. Cavella was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder on December 14th, 1936. Maurice C. Luck, 1908 to 1938. Conservation Officer Maurice Luck was accidentally shot in the abdomen in Sandusky, Michigan on March 15, 1938. His service revolver fell out of his shoulder holster and discharged when he leaned over working on his patrol car at a service station. Conservation Officer Maurice Luck died on March 16, 1938 at 4:45 at a local hospital. He was laid to rest March 19th in 1938 in St. John's, Michigan. He was 29 at the time of his death. Carlisle B. Smith, 1895 to 1945. Conservation Officer Carlisle B. Smith was patrolling Maple River checking for set lines in Gratiot County on April 17, 1943. It is believed his patrol boat capsized in the cold water of the Maple River. He was able to retrieve the boat, motor, and some equipment and drag them to shore. Smith then began a 3-mile walk back to Bridgeville where his vehicle was parked. When Smith did not return from the patrol, a massive search was initiated. Smith's body was found May 11, 1943. Thomas Mellon, 1901-1947. On Thursday, October 23, 1947, Conservation Officer Thomas Mellon and 5 others headed out to fight a fire raging along the Manistique River in Schoolcraft County. The men that assisted Mellon included Oliver Johnston, Lawrence Barrow, Clarence Taylor, Joe Burton, Conrad Oberd. The men launched a wooden boat in the Manistique River from the Sturgeon Hole Slough. The Mellon was seated in the rear of the boat operating the outboard motor. About a 1/2 mile upstream, the boat hit a submerged deadhead in the river. The river was approximately 12 feet deep and about 160 feet wide with a strong current. As the boat struck the deadhead, it ripped open the bottom, stopping it immediately. The boat was then started taking on water and began to sink. After the man abandoned the boat, Taylor and Johnson began to swim to shore. Officer Mellon and Oberg, being unable to swim, began struggling in the water and later drowned. Edward Starback, 1900 to 1957. On August 8, 1957, CO Starback was en route from Boyne City to Beaver Island by plane to pick up a Department of Conservation officer patrol boat. CO Starback left his patrol boat at Beaver Island a few days prior due to rough weather conditions. Piloting the plane was a local insurance man named Donald Watkins. They were also accompanied by CO Starback's 2 sons, Major Richard Starback, 35, and Carlton Starback, 28. At approximately 1:20 p.m. on August 8, 1957, the 4 men departed for Beaver Island from Boyne City Airport. At approximately 1:40 p.m., a pilot returning from Beaver Island witnessed Watkins' Stinson Voyager airplane in a tight spiral at an altitude of approximately 2,000 feet. All 4 men perished in the plane crash. Gerald F. Welling, 1918 to 1972. Conservation Officer Gerald Welling, 54, was killed at approximately 2:00 a.m. on September 10, 1972 during a patrol for illegal bear hunting activity near the community of Hermansville. Officer Gerald Welling and Officer William McCunnough observed a vehicle shining light in an attempt to locate a bear at a local dump site. After conducting a stop, both officers approached the suspect vehicle. As Officer Welling approached, the suspect vehicle sped forward, striking Welling. Officer Welling then became entangled with the hydraulic snowplow assembly mounted on the front of the vehicle and was dragged underneath for approximately 100 feet. Officer McCunnough fired at the suspect vehicle and quickly apprehended the driver, Kenneth View, 24, of Bark River. The passenger, Gary Johnson, 30, of Hermansville, fled on foot. Officer Welling was pronounced dead on the arrival at the nearest hospital. Both View and Johnson were initially charged with first-degree murder. A jury's trial resulted in Kenneth View being found guilty on a reduced charge of negligent homicide and sentenced to 1 year in prison. Charges against Johnson were ultimately dismissed. Scott Averill, 1946 to 1986. On Thursday, October 23, 1980, Conservation Officer Averill approached two men, father and son, spearing trout on the Acme Creek in Grand Traverse County. Conservation Officer Averill wrote the two for illegally spearing fish. On request of the men, Averill turned his back while he was changing the appearance date on the citations to a more convenient time for them. Without warning, the older man drew his .22 caliber hunting revolver and began pistol whipping C.O. Averill in the head while his son held him down. The two men took C.O. Averill's service revolver, glasses, and ticket book and fled the scene. With severe head injuries and damage to his brain, C.O. Averill was able to crawl to his vehicle and drive to M72, where he called for help. C.O. Averill was able to relay information on the two suspects to the Grand Traverse County Sheriff Department. The two men were later arrested. The night of this incident, C.O. Averill underwent surgery to relieve pressure on two skull depressions. C.O. Averill later developed brain tumors in the injured area and passed away on February 1st, 1986 at the age of 39. Conservation Officer Averill was laid to rest on February 5th, 1986 at the St. Mary's Cemetery in Lowell, Michigan. Conservation Officer Averill was survived by his wife Susan M. and two children, Sandy S. and Kristen R. Thank you to all those who serve.